Discover the incredible moment when a millionaire stepped in to transform a crying bride's life. Claire squeezed her eyes tight against the blaring sunlight streaming through the window of her quaint office, nestled in a corner of Maplewood South Main Street. An ocean of bittersweet anticipation hung around her as she watched Emily, her latest bride, frantically scroll through her phone. But Claire's heart dropped when Emily's fingers stilled. The report was true, their charming venue, the breathtaking Willow Grove, had unexpectedly shut down, a casualty of financial struggles. A flood of tears followed as Emily's dreams unraveled in front of her. All Claire could think was how, in that devastating moment, she could turn the tide for her friend and help resurrect that picture-perfect day. Wide-eyed and wide-hearted, Claire leaped into action, her mind racing with ideas. She rallied the neighborhood, drumming up a vibrant last-minute fundraiser at the local community center. Their excitement was contagious as flyers danced on the wind and local businesses donated baskets for a raffle. Each time she spoke about Emily, her voice brimmed with the tenacity of a warrior fighting for love, community, and all those little moments that made life beautiful. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In stepped David. A figure from the shadows, the reclusive millionaire who had once roamed the same streets as the community now pulling together for Emily. Word had traveled of Claire's impassioned plea, and as he stood in the back, a whirlwind of emotion stormed through him. His heart ached, torn between guilt and a longing for connection, the desire to give back, to step out from behind the wall he had built. But when whispers prickled the air like too many needles, skepticism arose. David's past could not easily be hidden, and neither could the privileged shield he had grown up behind. The townsfolk tried to measure the worth of his money against the spirit of their unity, revealing a jumble of hesitation and hope. With the wedding day fast approaching, tension twisted their two worlds tighter. Claire feared David's involvement would overshadow her hard work, while David wrestled with whether his involvement was genuine or merely a way to absolve his past. Then, as the final pieces fell into place, an unexpected revelation unfolded that shook them both to their core. Claire glanced at the crowd, an eclectic array of faces, the sound of laughter and whispers mingling in the glow of love, and suddenly, the air felt electric. What would become of them when the moment of truth arrived? Would they figure out a way to embrace their shared purpose? Out of the corner of her eye, Claire caught a flicker of realization in David. It was then that she knew the wedding would transform more than just two lives. It would challenge a whole community to reconcile their differences. But in those flickering moments, the unexpected clawed at her heart, leaving everyone anxiously holding their breath as they waited for the unforeseen turn of fate. The community center buzzed with energy as Claire organized the final details for the fundraiser. Colorful banners draped the walls, the scent of freshly baked goods wafted through the air, and laughter echoed like a sweet melody. Every corner of the room vibrated with hope and excitement. Emily, still overwhelmed but starting to smile, roamed among the guests, hugging neighbors and thanking them for their support. Claire, however, couldn't shake off her worry. She cast a quick glance around, searching for David. There he stood, a quiet figure leaning against the back wall, faced with a plate of cupcakes he didn't know how to approach. His demeanor caught her off guard. Under that polished exterior hid someone undeniably lost. Was he here to help, or was this just another self-serving move? As Claire approached him, her heart raced. "Hey, everything okay?" she asked softly, noting the way his blue eyes shifted to the ground. David sighed, a hint of vulnerability slipping through. "I didn't expect so many people. It feels profound." His voice dropped, revealing an uncertainty she hadn't seen earlier. The crowd's chatter seemed to fade as Claire pulled him into conversation. "You have a real chance here to make a difference," she urged. "You could show everyone that change is possible." She felt energized just by speaking to him. I want to. But how do I prove to them that I mean it? His voice cracked, revealing the rawness beneath his wealth. Claire could see him struggling with the weight of his past and societal expectations. Suddenly, he looked more like a boy than a millionaire. By just being here, she assured him, her confidence steadying both of them. You already took the first step by showing up. People will remember that. Let them see the real you. A smile ghosted on his lips, and for a moment, Claire thought she saw hope flicker in his expression. It was a small spark, but it was there. Just then, Emily rushed over, her eyes alive with energy. Claire! Look at what they just announced. She waved a flyer in the air, and the crowd's excitement surged anew. The raffle prizes were bigger than anyone had imagined, local businesses had truly rallied behind them. With each announcement, Claire felt her heart swell. Community spirit was surging, and alongside it, a welcoming warmth seemed to envelop David as he gradually involved himself. He began to engage with the guests, offering thanks, sharing laughter. Claire watched the transformation unfold, feeling a delicate balance of fear and exhilaration. But as the evening wore on, Claire's thoughts flickered back to Emily's wedding. She wanted everything to be perfect for her friend, but would David's involvement create more questions than answers? Damned if she did, damned if she didn't. Later, as the crowd swelled, a hush fell across the room. Claire glanced at the makeshift stage ahead where the band was setting up. What was meant to be a night of joy began to morph into a battleground of expectations. The line between hope and skepticism razor thin. Then, an unexpected voice broke through the tension. David cleared his throat, catching everyone's attention. As he stepped forward, something unsaid lingered in the air, an unspoken promise that could either lift them all or crumble the fragile unity they had built. What would he reveal? In that moment, Claire could only hold her breath, anticipation coursing through her. Would this be the turning point they all needed, or the moment that would tear everything apart? David stood there, the room's focus intensifying around him. Claire's heart thumped loudly against her chest. She could feel everyone's eyes on him, curious and uncertain. Would he rise to the occasion or falter under the weight of their expectations? Clearing his throat once more, David spoke, though his voice trembled at first. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know I'm not exactly a local celebrity, but I want to help. He paused, glancing at Claire, who offered him an encouraging nod. What I mean is, I've been given a lot in life. But tonight, I see so much more in the people around me: your stories, your struggles, your generosity. The crowd shifted, some whispering among themselves. Claire held her breath, her hopes riding on every word David would say next. I'm committed to supporting this community center and all the wonderful work it does, David continued, gaining momentum. I pledge to match every dollar we raise tonight. Every single one. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Claire's heart soared. He went on, I know it won't change everything, but I hope it can at least take some weight off the shoulders of people who need it most. The crowd erupted into applause, but Claire felt something deeper stir within her. Was this real? Did this man truly want to make amends for his past? For once, David's polished facade cracked open to show something genuine. As the clap settled, David's gaze narrowed into the crowd. I also want to specifically address Emily, he said, his voice softening. I know how much this fundraiser means to you, my friend. And I want to help make your wedding dreams come true. Emily's eyes glistened with tears. She clasped her hands over her heart and leaned in closer to the edge of the crowd. Oh my gosh, thank you, David. But Claire could see the moment turn bittersweet. Consumed with gratitude, Emily turned to whisper something to her, gratitude tinged with fear. The applause shifted into a chant of excitement for the upcoming raffle. Someone shouted out the total amount they had raised so far, and the crowd roared in response. Claire stood quietly at the back of the room, a tug of hope wrapped around her heart, yet tinged with doubt. This was a pivotal moment for David. But Claire felt the shadows of his past lingering like clouds above them. Would one moment of revelation sweep away years of skepticism? As the band struck up a lively tune, guests began to dance, laughter blending into the music. Claire watched David interact with the crowd, sharing genuine smiles, but still, something held her back. She couldn't shake the feeling that this felt too good to be true. Suddenly, David approached her again, pulling her aside for a moment. "I hope you see my effort," he said with renewed confidence. "I didn't want to be just another face in the crowd. I want to help for real." Her voice wavered as she replied, "It's a great start, but it will take more than tonight, David. Trust is built over time." He nodded, a flicker of determination in his gaze. "I understand. I want to earn it." As their conversation lingered, Claire felt Emily's gaze on them from a distance. What if this is the moment that truly changes everything? Claire thought, feeling both inspired and cautious. Just then, a loud crash interrupted their talk, as one of the decorations fell to the ground, sending a ripple of confusion through the crowd. All eyes turned to the source of the noise, and in that moment of distraction, Claire felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her. What other surprises lay hidden in this exhilaration? Claire glanced back at David, the person who promised more than just money. He hinted at real change. But how deep did his conviction run? As the night wore on, Claire could only wonder, were they on the brink of a transformation, or just one moment away from unraveling everything they thought they'd built together? The music faded slightly, replaced by chatter as guests began to gather around the fallen decorations. Claire couldn't help but feel the tension rising in her chest. The moment of connection she had shared with David felt fragile, as if it could break under the weight of reality. "Are you okay?" David's voice pulled her back. He stepped closer, concern etched on his face as he surveyed the scene, eyes darting back to her. "You look worried." It's overwhelming," Claire admitted, her gaze trailing to Emily, who had taken a step back, her smile now faltering. "I want this to be real for you and for everyone who is counting on this night." "But trust?" David finished for her, and Claire nodded. The word hung between them like a specter waiting to be addressed. Without breaking eye contact, David stepped back slightly, allowing Claire space. "I get it. And you're right." He took a deep breath. "But just know, I am all in. I won't let anything, even a literal crash, take away from what we started here tonight." She appreciated his resolve. It was refreshing, even soothing. But as the party started to regain its rhythm, Claire couldn't shake off her doubts. Was David merely a man full of good intentions? Or was there something deeper he was trying to escape? The chatter returned to laughter as the band adjusted the song, inviting guests to dance again. Claire watched as Emily was embraced by friends, her earlier worries dissipating into smiles. Laughter floated around the room, vibrant and infectious. David noticed her lingering gaze. "Why don't we join them? Let us celebrate this moment," he suggested, extending a hand as if it could pull her doubts away. Claire hesitated, weighing her options. On one hand, she could let loose for a few moments, surrendering to the joy around her. On the other, she felt a deep pull toward the uncertain depths of the journey still ahead. "I don't know." Before she could finish her thought, David took her hand, his grip firm yet gentle, a gesture that said he wouldn't let go easily. They moved toward the dance floor, where they found themselves enveloped in laughter and movement, the music melding their worries into an unspoken hope. As they danced, Claire stole glances at David. His laughter was genuine, and his smile lit up his face like the soft glow of the strings of lights overhead. Yet, powerful doubts clawed at her mind. If one evening could change everything, what else could happen? The music hit a crescendo, and David twirled her. Caught up in the moment, Claire felt the energy surge through her. Maybe, just maybe, she could believe in this night. But as the song ended, a shadow fell across David's face. He looked toward the back of the room where a figure stood watching them, a man with a stern expression, arms crossed. Claire followed his gaze, realizing it was someone from David's past, a source of tension that seemed to linger over him. "Who is that?" she asked, her voice dropping as the crowd danced on, oblivious. David's expression hardened, the warmth of moments shared now clouded. Someone I thought I'd left behind. Claire's heart sank. Had the shadows returned to reclaim their hold on him? Was this the moment everything fell apart? As uncertainty swirled in the air between them, David's grip on her hand tightened. "I won't let the past ruin this," he said, firm but uncertain, an echo of that earlier determination. But Claire could see the darkness creeping in. What does this confrontation mean? Can David still embrace the dreams they painted together, or would the past drag him back into its unforgiving grip? David's gaze remained locked on the man in the back of the room, tension building like a thick fog. Claire could feel it, brushing against her skin, raising the tiny hairs on her arms. She stepped a bit closer to him, searching for reassurance in his expression. It wasn't he there, just shadows flickering across his features. "What does he want?" Claire asked, her voice barely above a whisper, though she felt as if the entire room had turned to listen. David exhaled sharply, and for a moment, it felt as if time stood still. "Just some unfinished business," he replied, his tone clipped. She wanted to press him, to peel back the layers of his guarded nature and find what lay beneath, but they were surrounded by laughter and festivities, a painful juxtaposition to the palpable tension filling the air between them. David shook his head slowly, as if trying to shake free from an invisible weight. Turning to Claire, he summoned a small smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Let us focus on tonight," he said, his voice more composed, but Claire sensed the fissures lurking just beneath the surface. There was an urgency there, a silent plea for her to help him remain present. Claire nodded, determined to support him no matter the storm brewing inside. "Okay," she said, drawing a deep breath. They were in this together, right? She could feel the room trying to celebrate around them. A soft song began to play, inviting couples to the dance floor once more. Sensing an opportunity to divert the attention, Claire pulled him gently toward the center. "Let us not let anything ruin this. Just look at Emily, she's glowing," Claire said, urging him to divert his gaze from the looming figure, but David's eyes danced around as if trying to reconnect with the warmth of the night. Claire closed the gap between them, wrapping her arms around his waist. His body relaxed, and he nestled his chin atop her head, holding her close. They moved in sync, guided by the gentle sway of the music. In that moment it was just them, two souls woven into a tapestry of uncertainty and hope, yet, instinctively, she knew that the shadow still lingered, looming over his thoughts. Suddenly, the figure from earlier pushed through the crowd, making a beeline for them. Claire's heart raced, uncertainty gripping her stomach. David tensed and pulled back slightly, his expression shifting to one of guarded caution. "Stay close," he murmured. Claire's grip on him tightened. "I'm not going anywhere," she promised, her voice steady, trying to project strength even as fear swirled inside her. The man stopped a few paces away, his eyes darting between David and Claire. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low yet piercing amidst the celebratory backdrop. David's shoulders squared, and for a moment, Claire didn't recognize him. "Not here." "Not now," he replied, his tone low but filled with defiance. The tension in the air was electric, a whirlwind of emotions mixed with curiosity from the onlookers. Claire glanced around, catching sight of Emily, who now regarded them with a confused frown. "What is he doing here?" she asked, the words falling from her lips before she could stop them. David's jaw clenched, the light in his eyes dimming. "I thought I made it clear I wanted nothing to do with him." Claire's heart thudded as the space between them grew heavier, uncertainty clouding the earlier warmth. Would this night become a battleground, tearing away the fragile connection they had built? "Please," the man pressed, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "You need to hear what I have to say." Claire's gaze flicked to David, searching for answers that seemed out of reach. Could they face this together? Or was this the moment that shattered everything they had begun to build? As the world around them pulsated with laughter and music, she was aware that tonight could be the turning point. For better or worse, it was an opening to another layer of David's story, one that could change everything they thought they knew. With a determined heart, Claire took a step forward. "I think we all need to talk. Right now." What secrets would the shadow reveal? Would this moment forge an even deeper bond, or would it send them spiraling apart? David's eyes narrowed, defensiveness flickering across his features as he sized up the man before him. Every muscle in his body was tense, as if ready to react to whatever threat loomed. Claire felt the pulse of anxiety race through her veins. It was like stepping into a storm she hadn't prepared for. "Let us just take a step back," Claire interjected, her voice shaking slightly. She shifted her weight, positioning herself in front of David. This wasn't just about him anymore, this was about them. "You can talk, but it can't be here. Not in front of everyone." She glanced around the room, had fallen into a hushed anticipation, eyes flickering between the three of them. David's grip on her tightened. "That's not happening," he said firmly, throwing an assessing look at the man. "You've caused enough trouble as it is." The figure's gaze lingered on Claire, revealing a flicker of something more vulnerable between the hard lines of his face. "I'm not here to fight. I just want to explain." Claire felt a pang of sympathy rippling through her, sensing an untold story behind the man's eyes. There was raw emotion behind his trembling voice, making her wonder what burden he was carrying. But she quickly chastised herself. This wasn't the time for sympathy. This was David's battle. "Explain what?" David retorted, skepticism thick in his voice. The man hesitated, clearly weighing his next words. "It's about your past, David. The things you've tried so hard to forget," he said, his voice low but urgent. "But those things don't just fade away." At that, Claire's heart clenched. She turned to David, searching for any hint of emotion on his face. But he remained stoic, the shadows deepening around his features. How could someone from his past suddenly crash into their present, shaking the foundation they were trying to build? "We don't have to," Claire started, but David cut her off with a sharp look that silenced her. She swallowed hard, sensing a storm brewing. "Let us take this somewhere else," David said, determination firming his voice. He glanced at the man with an intensity that suggested a brewing storm of history brimming within. Unavoidable. Without waiting for a response, David took Claire's hand firmly in his and guided her through the crowd toward the exit, dragging the man along. The festive atmosphere was still swirling around them, cheerful laughter drifting through the air, but it felt worlds away. As they stepped outside, the cool night air hit Claire's skin, a welcome contrast to the chaos inside. She looked at David, who was now watching the man with a mixture of anger and pain. "Where do you want to go?" Claire asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Somewhere private," David replied, casting a quick glance around the dimly lit street. "We need to talk." With a nod, the three of them made their way down the sidewalk. The sound of music faded into the distance, and for a moment, Claire focused on the warmth of David's hand, the reassuring grip reminding her they were in this together. She knew whatever lay ahead, it was about to change everything. As they turned a corner, Claire felt the weight of the moment pressing heavily on her chest. They stopped in front of an old bench under a flickering streetlight, and she could see David's face shift as he prepared to confront whatever lay hidden in the shadows of his past. Claire's heart raced in sync with the rhythm of uncertainty. What truths awaited them? How deep did the shadows of David's past reach, and would they manage to navigate through the dark together? She took a deep breath, knowing that the bridge between them could either deepen their bond or unravel everything they had fought to create. "Okay," David finally said, his voice low. "Let us hear it." What revelations awaited them in the cool night air? And would they emerge together or forever changed? The man took a hesitant step forward, the flickering light casting shadows that danced across his face. His eyes darted between David and Claire noticed a swell of emotion threatening to break through his tough exterior. She could sense how heavy these words were, the burdens he carried evident in the tautness of his shoulders. "David," he began, his voice steadier now, "I'm not here to cause chaos. I'm here because you deserve to know the truth about your father." Claire's breath hitched. David's father? The words reverberated through her, dawning on her like the weight of a collapsing building. She glanced at David, who was now visibly shaken, his fists clenched tightly at his sides as he struggled to contain the storm brewing inside him. "What do you know about my father?" David's tone was icy, stripped of the warmth she had always felt when he spoke of his childhood. "I knew him well," the man replied, his voice dropping lower, reverberating with unspoken histories. "Or at least, the version of him you don't remember. The version your mother didn't want you to see." Claire watched David carefully. His expression shifted from anger to confusion, like a ship tossed violently on tumultuous seas. "Stop," he said, his voice a low growl as he shook his head, refusing to entertain what felt like an unfathomable intrusion into his life. "You don't know anything about my mother." "I know she did her best to shield you," the man continued, a hint of regret creeping into his voice. "But she couldn't hide everything. Not from the people who cared about your father. Not from the consequences of his choices." David took a deep breath, and Claire felt the heat radiating off him, a tempest contained but barely. All the pain he had tried to lock away began to whisper its way to the surface. She reached out, placing a hand softly on his arm. He didn't shrug it off, but it didn't seem to anchor him either. "Continue," David managed, his voice strained but intent on facing whatever shadows loomed ahead. "There's a reason he left, a reason he chose to disappear," the man explained, his eyes darkening with memory. "He was involved in things he couldn't outrun. Things that could have destroyed you if they caught up with him. Your mother, she took you to protect you, to give you a life far away from the darkness that was chasing him. But secrets have a way of surfacing, don't they?" Claire could feel the chill in the air, a tension so thick it almost felt tangible. She exchanged glances with David. He looked like a statue carved from marble, solid yet fraying at the edges, caught between grief and defensiveness. "What are you saying?" David's voice was tighter than a drawn bowstring, barely containing the quaking emotion ready to unleash. "I'm saying you're not just David, you're more than what they kept you from knowing. This is part of you, of who you are," the man said. There was an urgency in his tone now, like he was trying to pull them through a twisted labyrinth. David pressed his lips together, and the silence stretched between them, a chasm filled with tension, fear, and unknowns. Claire's heart raced, her mind spinning with the implications of their conversation. What truths had they been blind to? "Your father wasn't a monster," the man continued softly, almost pleadingly. "But he made mistakes, and they affected more than just him." David exhaled sharply, his expression shifting to one of unease. He seemed to shrink under the weight of words left unspoken, memories intertwined with the idea of familial loyalty and betrayal looming heavy in the air around them. "What truth is worth saving when it alters everything?" David whispered, glancing to the ground, the weight of the world crushing down on him. Claire could see it in him, an internal battle clashing with years of suppression. She had to reach him. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," she urged, her voice infused with warmth, grounding him amidst the storm inside. David finally met her eyes, and in that moment, Claire knew they were standing at the edge, teetering between the known and the unknown. What lay ahead could either bind them tighter or tear them apart. "Tell us everything," David whispered, and Claire held her breath. What secrets would spill into the air? Would the revelation of the past bring them closer, or would it shatter everything they had built? The man took a deep breath, his voice a mixture of sorrow and resolution. "Your father, he was involved with people who didn't forgive easily. There was a mistake, a misstep that forced him into hiding. He didn't go away willingly. It was a fight for survival." David flinched, struggling to process the words. His brow furrowed in confusion, the icy veneer beginning to crack. "For survival? You mean he was running from something, or someone?" "Exactly," the man nodded, his eyes searching David's for understanding. "When he left, it wasn't just to abandon you. It was to protect you and your mother. He thought he was doing the right thing. Protect us." David laughed humorlessly, the sound bitter on his lips. "And what did that protect us from? From knowing him? From the dad I never had?" He rubbed his hand across his forehead as if trying to erase thoughts that wouldn't go away. Claire watched him, her heart aching. She knew this was a place of deep pain for David, one he had always skirted around. "David," she said softly, "what if he thought he was doing what he had to? What if he had no choice?" "Choice," he spat. "It sounds great on paper, but what about feelings? What about us?" His voice cracked, raw and exposed. "I get it," the man interjected quickly, wanting to bridge the divide of anger and hurt. "I was there then. I saw the struggle. Your father tried to find ways to reach you. He loved you, but it was a war. He lost battles before he ever set foot outside. Who are you? How do you know so much?" David demanded, his brow furrowed with suspicion. Each layer of the conversation seemed to push him farther away while still drawing him in. "I was a friend," the man replied quietly. "But after so many years, even a friend can become a stranger. I should be reached out back then. I thought silence was best, but I see now it was cowardice. It's why I'm here now." Silence settled over them. The weight of his admission hung heavily in the air, thick with unsaid words and unresolved fears. The flickering light cast shadows that flickered around them, as if mirroring the uncertainty in David's heart. Claire moved closer and squeezed David's arm. "It's your choice, David. We can dig deeper if you want to, and find your father's truth together. But only if you feel ready." David's gaze shifted to Claire, searching her eyes for something, maybe reassurance, maybe strength. "What if I don't like what I find? What if it kills our memories? What if my dad isn't the man I imagined?" "Maybe knowing is what you need," Claire said softly. "You deserve the truth, even if it's painful. It's part of respecting the history that got you here. We face it together, remember?" He inhaled deeply, visibly weighing his options. David looked back at the man, who wore a sympathetic expression. "So, what was his mistake?" The man straightened, his eyes darkening with the weight of the impending revelation. "It was bigger than any one person. There were debts, unfinished deals, things that lie deeper, entwined with moments of betrayal that could shake the foundations of everything." Claire's breath caught in her throat. They were swimming in a sea of uncertainties, and she could feel the tide pulling at them, ready to plunge them into depths they might not return from unscathed. "Tell us everything you know," David repeated, determination creeping into his voice, but she could see the uncertainty lingering just behind it. With a nod, the man stepped forward, a storm of emotion brewing in his eyes. "And so it begins." As he began to speak, the weight of his words draped over them like a shroud. Secrets began to untangle, and truths started to bubble to the surface. Where would this lead them? Would they sink or swim in the turmoil ahead? The man took a moment, gathering his thoughts as if choosing words from 100 different paths. "Your father's mistake." His voice grew deeper, barely above a whisper. It reached beyond his choices, beyond the mistakes of a single man. It was a chain reaction, a series of events set in motion long before you were born. David's heart thudded in his chest. This was it, the unraveling of a story he didn't even know he needed to hear. "What do you mean? Who was he involved with?" "People," the man replied, his eyes glistening with a mixture of regret and pity, "who considered loyalty a currency. When your father failed to deliver on a promise, it wasn't just a dent in his honor, it was a threat to their power. They had a way of making sure that debts are paid one way or another." Claire leaned in, her breath shallow with the weight of this new information. "So, he was in debt. Is that why he left?" "Yes, but it was deeper than money," the man continued. "Your father came across information, dangerous information that could expose them. They wouldn't just let him walk away. They wanted to eliminate any risks, and that meant everyone he loved was at risk too." A chill rolled through David. His father's reasons for leaving were clearer now, but it only opened the wound wider. What did he know? Who were they? Every question burned with urgency, and he needed answers. "They were like ghosts," the man said, almost with a shudder. They existed in shadows, small-time crooks turned power players. Your father crossed one of them, and suddenly, he was caught in a maze with no escape. To protect you, he had to disappear. Silence encased them once more, heavy with the weight of the truth. Claire's hand rested on David's arm, her touch grounding. What happened after he left? She asked quietly. Your father tried for years to mend things from afar, to keep you safe, the man said softly, his gaze averted as if recalling an old, painful memory. But the risk kept growing. That's why he had to cut off contact completely. He didn't want his enemies to find you. David's jaw clenched tightly, grief merging with anger. But he didn't trust us enough to let us in. He just left us. His voice rose, a mix of hurt and betrayal, echoing around them. How could he think that was protecting us? Sometimes, desperation breeds decisions we can't understand, Claire said gently. He thought protecting you meant cutting ties, even if it hurt. He likely thought you would be safer without the truth, without the burden of knowing. Safer? Is ignorance really so much better? David shot back, frustration pouring from him, and yet somewhere in that cloud of emotions, concern flickered in the back of his mind. What if I never wanted to know this? What if it changes everything? The man sighed heavily. Knowing the truth can be a double-edged sword. It only heightens the painful memories or brings the freedom found in understanding. Your father had his reasons. Maybe true courage lies in facing what we fear most. David's chest tightened as he absorbed the man's words. Every part of him wrestled with the choice ahead. He could bury it all again, pretend like it didn't exist, or he could embrace the chaos and fight through the fear. David, whatever you choose, I'm here, Claire reassured him, squeezing his arm with unyielding warmth. We can navigate this together. Nervously, David ran his fingers through his hair. I need time to think. This changes everything. And if he was right, what if they're still out there? As their gazes locked unsure and resolute, David felt the ground shift beneath him. Would he confront his father's past, or let it remain buried? The echoes of unspoken truths still lingered in the corners of the room, a haunting reminder of the battle still to come. His mind whirled, and he took a step back as if to break free of the mounting gravity. There's still so much more to uncover, isn't there? The realization washed over him like cold water, sharpening his focus. The man nodded in solemn agreement. This is just the beginning. But be warned, the deeper you dig, the darker the truths might become. What would he discover next, and how far was he willing to go in his search for the truth? David stood there, staring into the dark abyss of his father's past while the cool night air swirled around them. The words hung like a storm cloud, heavy with the weight of revelations yet to come. Claire's presence beside him felt like a lifeline tethering him to the now, offering warmth against the chilling unknown. No more running, he whispered to himself, the fierce resolve tightening in his chest. It was time to unravel the tightly bound threads of his family history, to break free from the grip of fear that had held him captive for too long. This journey wouldn't just reshape his understanding of himself, it could alter the future he thought he was building. That he turned slowly back to the man who had revealed so much, a mixture of anger, curiosity, and a flicker of hope roiling inside him. So where do we start? You said this is just the beginning. What comes next? The man looked both relieved and regretful. You need to know what your father was involved in. It was a web of deceit, but there were allies, two people who wanted to protect him and you. Then let us find them, David replied, surprising even himself with the resolve in his voice. Let us bring this into the light. Claire squeezed his arm again, her eyes brimming with support. I am with you every step of the way. We'll face whatever comes together. The man nodded, grateful for her presence. In time, you'll need to trust your instincts and your choices. It may lead to danger, but it's the only path that lets you reclaim your family's story. David took a deep breath, envisioning a world where the shadows held no power over him. I want to own my narrative. No more hiding behind someone else's choices, he said, fiery determination burning in his chest. With a fierce nod from both Claire and the man, they began their quest, a journey into the past that would reshape everything. As they walked back to the community center, they blended into the night like figures stepping out of a darkened room into the light. David marveled at the change in him. Gone was the boy afraid of the shadows. This was a man ready to confront his truth. Upon entering the center, the atmosphere was electric, laughter ringing like chimes through the air. Emily was at the center of the crowd, radiant in her wedding dress, embracing the shower of love and unity. At that moment, David realized it wasn't just redemption he sought, it was a world where bonds strengthened rather than fell apart. Within the swirling dance of celebration, David stepped forward, finding Emily's gaze. "Can we talk?" he asked, urgency lacing his voice. She nodded, excitement dancing in her eyes. "Is everything okay?" she inquired, a flicker of concern replacing her jubilation. David took a deep breath, letting the moment settle. "I need you to know that I'm here for you, now and always. I want your wedding to be everything you dreamed of and more. But I have some things I need to face about my past." Emily's brows furrowed as she processed. "What do you mean?" David glanced at Claire for reassurance. "There are things I've kept buried. But I'm ready to confront them, and it may take time. I want to share that with you. You deserve to know." A soft smile appeared as Emily clasped his hands tightly. "Whatever it is, you will not be alone. Just like Claire helped me, I believe in you too." In that moment of unity, David realized something incredible. The strength of community was in their willingness to support one another through their darkest moments. Just as he felt shadows from his past creeping in, warmth from loved ones enveloped him like a soft quilt, comforting and steadfast. As the festivities ebbed and flowed, laughter soaring high, David felt empowered. The past no longer held any claim on him, it was no longer something to be feared but a story to be uncovered, a thread weaving together the fabric of who he was becoming. Now was the moment to lean into the support around him, to embrace not only his journey but every bond he forged along the way. With Claire and Emily by his side, a new chapter awaited. Burdens would be lifted, our fears faced, and love would conquer all. That night, enveloped by laughter and warmth, they began to weave a future worth fighting for, one filled with hope, honesty, and love. If you believe in the power of transformation and community, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out, hit that bell and turn on all notifications to catch our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread this inspiration, and comment below with your feelings about this heartwarming ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand the need to support the channel. Let's uplift each other.